What's going on, everybody? This your boy Mike from Trouble Down Productions and NerdFeed.com, and this is going to be my review for The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 10, entitled The Next World. And as they said on Talking Dead, get ready for some deep wrecking. There really wasn't many of our side characters in this episode. It mainly only focused on a couple, but we did find out that Denise is from Ohio, and she was talking to Daryl about if he finds some pop, and when they're out, and Daryl's like, what's pop? And so I thought that was kind of funny, being as I'm from North Carolina and I call it soda, and my girlfriend's from Ohio and she calls it pop, and when we first met it was kind of like, what the fuck is pop? You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was kind of cool. Now we start off in what looks to be like a couple weeks after the last episode. I'm sorry, I'll take that back. It was Denai said had been 2 months since the last episode, so it's been a while, which is, in my opinion, I don't know if I really like that or not, because in the comic series, when they did this, Carl kind of lost his shit a little bit, and so it almost seemed like they skipped right over that. But I think it was such a pertinent story it was for him, that I really think they're still going to do it in the show. We just had this little time skip, but I really liked how it almost seemed like everything was homey. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody was being settled in now. Everybody was comfortable, like in a matter of speaking. We got a funny little dialogue between Rick and Michonne, and then Carl comes in there with Baby Judith. Baby Judith, looks a little bit bigger, and I mean, you can tell it's been a little bit of a time skip, but I think it's only really been like weeks. And then you have Rick and Daryl that's going to go out on like a scavenger hunt to try to find people or supplies or whatnot. Now, in the comic series, it was Rick, Michonne, and Abe that went out on this run. So I like how they kind of played with it in the show, did it a little bit different. Okay, so before I go beyond that, I just want to state that Rick, we all love you. Andrew, you're awesome. Rick Grimes' taste in music is horrible. I think I felt a little blood come out of my ear at some point. Like, Rick, what the hell were you listening to? Even Daryl was like, what the fuck? They end up meeting Paul Monroe, who is dubbed Jesus by some people. And if you don't know who he is, I did a video full explainer on him. You can click right there and check that out, and then come back to this video if you want, or just check it out after this video, whichever you like. And they actually changed Paul Monroe's name to like Paul Revere or something like that. I'm not real sure why they did that. I may have to look up something and give you guys another video later on in the week about it, but I'm not real certain why they changed his name like that. That really don't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I guess we'll find out at some point. But anyway, the dude is fucking badass. Like, they meet up, they scuffle for just a quick second. There's a little dialogue between him, Rick, and Daryl, and he kind of fakes him out anyway. He runs to the back and sets off some fireworks. And his whole presence of him being there and him just running off, it's funny as hell, because it's got Rick and Daryl just kind of standing there knowing that the dude just told them that walkers were coming, and they're just kind of standing there discussing what the hell just happened. But he ends up running to the back, setting off some fireworks, and it alerts Rick and Daryl, and they run to the back. While they're running to the back, he's coming to the front to steal the truck of stuff that they just found. And that shit was funny as hell. And on the flip side, you've got Spencer and Michonne out in the woods. Spencer's just kind of wandering around, and Michonne's just kind of wondering why they're out there the whole time. But it eventually all comes together. There's a small part with Carl and Enid out in the woods. They're just like looking at comic books and stuff. And then she ends up telling Carl that she don't want to be out there anymore. As they go to leave, they see a walker. Carl ends up kind of freaking out, not wanting to kill the walker, and then it just kind of goes off from there. We get back to Rick and Daryl, and they finally find Jesus up the road, changing a tire from what it looks like. And then Rick comes up behind him and grabs him from behind, and in all of Jesus' glory, like, he just starts going off with his martial arts, fends off Rick, fends off Daryl. They finally get him on the ground, tie him up in the middle of the road, and the whole time, this dude's like in the middle of the road just like laughing. I mean, it's freaking hysterical. Carl ends up having another little heart-to-heart with Michonne about the walker he's seen, and he didn't want to kill him. Michonne's like, well, why you didn't want to kill him? He's, because somebody basically says that somebody you love should kill you if you're a walker, but is kind of how he tells it in a way. But we still didn't know who it was at that point. Rick and them on their way back to Alexandria thinking it's okay, and Jesus over here on top of the damn truck. So Rick hits the brakes, Jesus goes flying off the truck. There's a scuffle a little bit. Jesus is running around. Daryl's trying to catch him. Daryl can't catch him. Jesus ends up getting up in the truck to get the gun. Daryl's on top of him in the truck, and the dude's like, Daryl, duck. And Daryl ducks, and dude shoots a walker that's coming up behind Daryl. So he saved Daryl, which is pretty cool. And then Daryl punched the shit out of him anyway. As he punched him, Jesus flipped the truck into gear, and the thing went rolling into the lake. And then they just kind of lost all their supplies. At that point, they tie him up, and then I'm going to carry him back to Alexandria with them. So I mean, I really thought that, you know, the outfit that they had Tom Payne in, it was almost dead on to the comic series. The way that he fended Rick and Daryl off with the martial arts, I really like that. I really feel like they played it true to the comics, which is something I have felt like they haven't really done in a long time. So I was really happy with this episode. And then towards the end, we see it goes back to Michonne and Spencer out in the woods, and they finally see a walker, and they're both just like ghosted, kind of like almost the exact same look that Carl and Enid had when they seen the walker. And it ends up being Deanna as the walker. We knew we were going to see her from the poster, and after he kills her, it ends up being stated that that's what he was out there for. So that all kind of tied in together with Carl and all that stuff. Top moment of the episode, at the very end, we get Michonne, yo. Now, I'm not one for shipping, and they really mentioned this on The Talking Dead, too. You know, Michonne's not really the likely candidate for Rick, but she should be, honestly, because, I mean, you know, she's one person that Rick really don't have to worry about, you know, getting killed off. Bottom line, I really think, like, Rick would be safe with Michonne. Michonne loves Carl. Carl loves Michonne. Carl, you know, I mean, they love each other. It's like a big family. You could tell it kind of in the beginning of the episode. It just kind of had that feel to it, like it was just a little family going on, man. And at the end of it, you know, Rick and Michonne get their thing on, and I loved it. You know what I mean? I couldn't ask anything better for an episode. I really felt like this episode was better than most of the ones in this season, man. I mean, I liked last week's episode, especially the end of it, but this week's episode, I really actually enjoyed watching it, and it was really cool to actually see them get a breather from what happened in last episode, so that was really cool. Overall, I have to give this episode a 9.5. I loved it. I loved the little bit of action that was in it, even though there wasn't a whole lot. It was more introducing Jesus, I guess is how I should say it. That's basically what this episode was. It was an introduction to Paul Monroe. And I think they did very well. But that's about all I got for you guys. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you loved the video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps the channel. I will be putting all my links in the comment section below. You can go check out my group, the Nerd Feed page, all that awesome stuff. So I love you guys. Dead to Zombies, nerdfeed.com, Trouble Down Productions. You guys rock.